What is going on, Movie Meals? Hope everyone is doing really good out there. It's just me for another review by myself. Alex is out of town. He's away doing traveling, so he's not able to catch up on movies. So it's me here in time for The Flash. But before I talk about The Flash, just a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters, Kimberly and Karen. Thank you guys as always. And if you haven't become a member on our Patreon, we would appreciate that support. The link should be down below. On top of that, also, just a quick shout out that we're going to be nearing 2,000 subscribers soon. So thank you guys who have already been subscribers. But if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. But at the same time, when we get to 2,000 subscribers, we're going to be collecting all the people that have been commenting on our videos and draw a random winner to give one of our hoodies for free. So again, thank you guys for supporting us in that way. And now for the Flash. And there's so many ways to do an introduction to this Flash review. Simply for one thing, this has been in production for 9 years practically the runtime of the Flash TV show, crazy enough. But also, we've heard many stories about decisions on what the story is going to be about. Is it going to be a Flashpoint story, or is it just going to be something completely different? So many directors and writers that have come and gone through this project. And on top of that, also the Ezra Miller stuff behind the scenes, stuff in their personal lives that does not paint a good picture for the actor, needless to say. But, we've talked about that on many podcasts and videos before. And if you don't know about that stuff, you can research that on your own time. But for this, we all have to push that to the side, talk about the movie for what it is at its face value. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I at least liked the movie. Director Andy Muschietti, who directed the Id movies, was on board and was the director for this project. And what I really appreciated of what he did here was that he made the Flash and his superpowers seem to be really fun. I know that a lot of people enjoy how Zack Snyder portrayed the powers of the Flash in those movies, and I was fine with how they were done there. But I thought that Andy Muschietti at least did a really good job with making the Flash's powers not look completely the same as what was done before, and just did some improvements on it to have it feel just this really great burst of energy that showed a character that was able to grow and be a better superhero than what we saw with Zack Snyder's Justice League or Joss Whedon's Justice League even. Which brings me to the portrayal of the Flash by Ezra Miller, which I wound up really enjoying in this movie. I thought that it was a great departure from almost the immature Flash that we got previously, and it was able to be developed into a more mature version of the character. Not completely goofy, although there are some jokes to be had at the same time, but again, just a bit more matured and reserved, even though his decision making throughout this movie might not seem so reserved. It's a really good mixture of maturity, but also immaturity to where it's not annoying, but at the same time, it also is enough to be costly and be a lot of importance within the plot. We also play another version of Barry Allen, which we see in the trailers, so I'm not going into spoiler territory when it comes to that. And that is definitely the more immature side of Barry Allen, but the Ezra Miller is able to do a really good job with bouncing off of both of those versions of the character, and it does create a dynamic that is a lot more fun than I was imagining it would be. It never got grating by any sense of the means. It was able to be a really good duality of the two sides of Barry Allen in a sense. On top of Ezra Miller doing really well in the role of the Flash, I also thought some of the supporting cast in here also did a very good job, mainly with Michael Keaton in the role as Batman. Obviously, he's a terrific actor, so it's no surprise that he's able to jump back into a role that he did a long time ago, so there shouldn't be any nervousness for anyone who hasn't seen the movie to go in hoping that he doesn't stick the landing when returning as the role as Batman. He is very good, and it feels very natural for him to come back, and also his inclusion in the movie was a lot more natural of a fit than I expected it to be, which was kind of a nervous aspect of the movie that I was having when I was seeing some of the trailers, but it is a lot more natural here than I anticipated. Another person within the supporting cast that I really liked was Sasha Kaye as Supergirl. I thought that she gave a different type of edge and a different type of energy to some portrayals that I've read of Supergirl within the comics, but also just for inclusion in the movie, I thought that she did a very good job with bouncing off of the rest of the cast, including Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton. I honestly wouldn't be against her coming back in some capacity when it comes to the new DC universe that James Gunn is shaking out. I know that he's going to be doing that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow adaptation, and honestly, I could see her being a good fit with this. Maybe if they're worried about that, the timeline stuff wouldn't work out necessarily, just for it being like a reboot of this new universe, and he probably wants to cast his own actress. But if she did wind up being announced as the Supergirl for that movie, I wouldn't be upset by that at all. I think that would be a really good thing to have. I think that she did a very good job in the role as Supergirl. The negative side of things, I would say that I noticed elements of editing to where it seemed like scenes didn't have the natural conclusion that they were supposed to. It made some of the scenes feel a little bit more rushed. It wasn't too jarring, just a few notices here and there that I would have liked to see some scenes expanded just a little bit more, last a little bit longer. But for a 2.5 hour movie, you probably have to make some sacrifices, and I'm sure that they had to do that within here. And it doesn't take away for the good job that was done with this movie, but just some notices that I had when it comes to those elements. On top of that, I think that this was kind of a thing on social media, noticing some of the CGI within the Flash not looking as great as we wish it would. I think that becomes the case when you see the final product of this. At times it looks good, at times it really doesn't look good, but I just think that's going to be the case when it comes to some of these movies, especially some of these blockbuster movies, just because we've heard already so many behind the scenes stuff when it comes to how VFX houses are being mistreated, they're not getting the proper hours that they deserve, they're being overworked, and they still aren't able to get the projects done on time and being able to have it be fully finished like they wish they would. So that is a negative, but I'm trying to be less harsh about that just because I understand, at least to a degree, what is going on behind the scenes, and I feel like it's a bit unfair to be totally critical about that. So it's noticeable, but it's just the way it is right now. And finally, when it comes to my negatives, I would say that without giving away any spoilers outside of the stuff that's already seen in the trailers, you'll be able to see some cameo appearances, which I think some are cool and interesting, and there's others that I just kind of cringed a little, at least for me personally, that I just didn't really vibe with, and I thought they were a bit cheap, but I'm probably not going to get too much more into that because I really don't want to spoil the movie for anyone in case if they haven't seen it yet. That's it for my review. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you also to our Patreon supporters. Please make sure, everyone, to like and subscribe and share our channel, and as always, thanks for watching Alex's Mom, and we'll see you later, guys.